my children.
From what?
There are some things in this world I hope you never have to experience, children.
Oh, Grandpa.
You ever seen a man torn in half by torpedo shrapnel?
What?
You ever seen a man choked to death from mustard gas?
Mustard can't hurt you, Grandpa.
You kids ever heard of World War I? 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria is murdered by some crazy Serbian radical. Everyone starts to point the finger, and war breaks out in Europe. Now, the U.S., well, we didn't really want to get involved. President Wilson did what he could to keep us out of the war and through his re-election in 1916. Then those sauerkraut sons of bitches sank the Lusitania in the Atlantic. It's a passenger boat.
Now, Grandpa, I don't think that's very politically correct.
You ever seen a man's foot swell up to the size of a watermelon because he's been wallowing around in his own excrement for 2 months? We lived in trenches. The area between was called no man's land. The enemy was on the other side. If you went into no man's land, there was a big chance you'd get your ass shot.
You and your friends?
Me and the other doughboys, we were the American Expeditionary Force. We were led by a man named John J. Pershing. We worked with Britain and France.
Grandpa, didn't Mexico have something to do with the war? Like a note?
Yeah. Some kraut named Zimmerman wrote a note to Mexico about them teaming up against us.
Yeah, it sounds like we had no choice going into the war, right?
Yeah. I got drafted by the Selective Service Act in 1917. Went to work with the other allies, France, the UK, and Russia over in Europe. It was us against Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Germany. That Schnitzel-eating Kaiser Wilhelm didn't know what he was in for.
Who's that?
Oh, he was the leader of Germany during the war.
What are you two darlings talking with Grandpa about?
Grandma, what's mustard gas?
It's something very bad.
Grandma, do you remember World War I?
Well, honey, I was a woman, and women couldn't fight during the war.
Damn right.
Really?
I stayed at home and watched over the house.
What was it like here?
Well, it was very, very busy. I remember there were a lot of posters around here about the war. Wilson created a special department called the Committee of Public Information, and headed by a nice man named George Creel to make sure that the people supported the war effort. There were a lot of people working in factories to make supplies. The War Industries Board was at the head of all the supplies industry.
A man named Bernard Baruch ran that. He was the economic advisor for Wilson.
That's someone who helps the president trade things. He needed friends to help.
Why was he so busy?
Well, honey, something called prohibition was happening.
Oh, yeah, it's a load of bullshit if you ask me.
Honey, watch your language around the children.
Wait, what's prohibition?
No, honey, prohibition. It's when you prevent someone from doing something. In this case, it was drinking alcohol.
But Grandpa drinks so much.
Well, honey, you see, it was repealed.
Damn right it was repealed.
Did you vote for that?
When it started, I couldn't vote because I was a woman. You know, we didn't have a congresswoman until 1917.
That's not fair.
Well, plenty of things happened back then that weren't exactly fair. For example, people couldn't speak out against the government in regards to the war. The Supreme Court ruled that in Shank versus the United States.
Well, that's not fair either.
You gotta protect decency, my boy. You can't let people slander the boys in uniform. It was bad enough having all those spies and espionage and whatnot. That's why the government passed the Espionage and Sedition Acts.
There were plenty of socialists walking around in those days.
Damn pinkos.
Did people not like them?
Well, they were ruining the country, sweetheart. We needed to protect capitalism in America. People like Eugene Debs, the leader of the Socialist Party, wanted to destroy this country's foundation one brick at a time. We had to take precautions and keep ourselves isolated in order to protect our innocence.
Yeah, and those damn unions. And those wobblies. Them and John Lewis and his United Mine Workers wanted to destroy American business and steal everyone's money. You guys don't like stealers, right?
No, sir.
Well then, don't support those commie unions. All they're good at is taking money away from the businesses to make the products you use every day. Communism destroys America!
Good evening. I'm Dick.
The camera's over here.
Good evening. I'm Dick Dynamite. Communism destroys everything this country stands for. Freedom. Success. And love. If you suspect someone you know of being communist or communist supporter, don't keep your suspicions to yourself. Pick up your telephone and dial 555-123-4567, the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations hotline. Remember, communism hates children. You love children, don't you?
The Allies win a tremendous victory in the fall of 1918. From there, Wilson drafts his copy of the 14 points, stating that there should be a League of Nations, no more secret alliances between nations, self-determination for nations, and few restrictions of trade, and a couple of other points. The 14 points is seen in the Treaty of Versailles, which helped lead to the end of the war and what was to happen to Germany. Many Americans did not like the Treaty of Versailles, especially the part about the League of Nations. The Americans included Henry Cabot Lodge and the Irreconcilables. He believed that it made the U.S. too dependent on other nations. At the same time, the U.S. was trying to rid itself of communists and radicals by having the Palmer Raids. Across the sea in Russia, the Russian Bolshevik revolutions were taking place, which caused more havoc over communism. A naval conference was held in Washington, which helped determine the ship ratio for each country. The last plan of World War I was the Dawes Plan, which made Germany pay reparations to countries and so that other countries should encourage loans to Germany. The war was finally over, but we would soon regret our complacency on December 7, 1941.